This is the story of Jimmy Henchmen, born James J. Rosemond on February 5th, 1965 in Brooklyn, New York. His parents, Constantine and Andrea Frazier. Rosemond's two-parent home also included James' brothers, Mario, Kesner, and Lionel, and his sister, Najee. Rosemond's criminal career began at the age of 16 when he was arrested for bike theft. That arrest resulted in his incarceration at Rikers Island in the C-74 Juvenile Detention Center, where he would meet future criminals such as Kelvin 50 Cent Martin. While incarcerated together, Rosemond, known by his nickname Ace, and Martin was given the name Little Bastard. Years later, after Martin's death, Rosemond would pay for a $9,000 red granite monument to adorn the grave of his fellow inmate. Less than 2 years later, Rosemond was charged with criminal possession of a firearm, and 3 months later, that arrest, he was again arrested and charged with weapons violation. This time at 18 years old, he was also charged with robbery in the first degree, as well as second-degree murder. Years later, Rosemond earned the third charge, criminal possession of a firearm. Eventually, Rosemond's criminal activities extended beyond his native New York when in February of 1996, he was again charged with criminal possession of a firearm, this time in Los Angeles. November 5th of the same year, movie star and rapper Tupac Shakur, with his album The Don Illuminati, The 7 Day Theory, was released amidst a fan frenzy of widespread media coverage. Owing in no small part of the fact that Tupac had been murdered 2 months earlier, the album's final track, Against All Odds, a song in which Shakur addressed his perceived enemies, contained accusations that Rosemond was involved in the actor's first shooting, which occurred 2 years earlier. During the incident, which occurred on the night of November 30th, 1994, Shakur was confronted by 2 men wearing military fatigues upon entering the lobby of a popular recording studio, Quad Studios. In 2000, Rosemond was sentenced to 19 months in prison stemming from a conviction for a weapons violation. Despite his lengthy arrest record, Rosemond was almost enormously successful in music industry executive. Rosemond founded and headed Caesar Entertainment, a management company that at one time or another were responsible for guiding the careers of Michael K. Williams and several prominent music performers including Brandy, The Game, Shine, Too Short, Akon, Sean Kingston, Gucci Mane, Salt and Pepper, Trillville, Big Gip of Goody Mob, Sheik Luke of The Locks, Pleasure P of Pretty Ricky, Smitty, and Yummy Bingham. On January 21st, 2005, Rosemond accompanied his then client, Jason Yon the Game Taylor, in an on-air interview with Richard DJ Zulu Dunkerson of Laneham, Maryland, radio station. Both Rosemond and Taylor were charged with second-degree assault following an attack of Dunkerson reportedly instigated by his teasing Rosemond about his Bluetooth earpiece. While the charges against Taylor were dropped, in February 2006, Rosemond was sentenced to 5 years, suspended to 3 years probation following legal proceedings, and reportedly, including rapper Dana Queen Latifah Owens, testified as a character witness on Rosemond's behalf. In early 2007, Rosemond's son, James Rosemond Jr., 14 years old at the time, was allegedly slapped by rapper Tony Yayo and his associate, reputed member of the Blood Street gang, Lodi Mack. The alleged assault is widely believed to have been connected to an ongoing rap feud at the time between Bernard's rap group G-Unit and former member of the Game, owing to the fact that Game was professionally represented by Rosemond. On March 24th, Bernard was arrested and charged with assault for the incident. On April 18, 2007, the home of Bernard's mother was targeted in a drive-by shooting, which is believed to be retaliation for the assault on Rosemond's teenage son. Dave Lighty, brother of late G-Unit manager Chris Lighty, was assaulted in a razor attack. Bernard's Bentley was shot up in Harlem, and a bulletproof vehicle belonging to G-Unit was torched as well, in what authorities allege as further retaliation in the feud. In February of 2008, prosecutors dropped the charges against Bernard, citing insufficient evidence. Fletcher, meanwhile, was shot to death in the Bronx on September 27, 2009, in what authorities believe to be more retaliation for the alleged assault on Rosemond's son. A 2010 article by Allison Gender in the New York Daily News alleged that Rosemond had acted as a cooperating witness with authorities on more than one occasion. In 1996, while serving time for narcotics and weapon charges in North Carolina, Rosemond reportedly notified authorities that 4 of his fellow inmates had invited him to participate in a planned escape attempt. In 1997, Rosemond reportedly cooperated with authorities in order to gain leniency for his bail-jumping charges back in New York. Allegedly, he described how staff members at the correctional facilities in which he had been detained altered official documents so that he could appear post-bail legally. Rosemond and his current attorney, Jeffrey Lynchman, who has also served as defense counsel for John Gotti Jr., has since denied accusations that he ever acted as an informant and pointed out that he never signed a cooperation agreement. Lynchman has stated he met with federal prosecutors for a single session, but for the plenty of reason, people meet with prosecutors. His lawyers at the time inflated what happened in an attempt to get a better sentence. It didn't work. The fact is that the prosecutors later claimed that he flat out lied to them, and they were unhappy about it. In June 2010, the DEA concluded its investigation of Rosemond by issuing a warrant for his arrest on drug trafficking charges. After going into hiding for a month, Rosemond was trailed to the W Hotel in Manhattan by authorities and arrested after a brief chase on foot, during which he chipped the tooth after being arrested to the ground by federal marshals. On October 6, 2011, Rosemond's older brother, Kesner Rosemond, was sentenced to 12 years for drug trafficking offenses connected to the organization headed by his younger brother. In 2011, Dexter Isaac, a convicted felon sentenced to life for murder, began cooperating with agents for the DEA and prosecutors investigating Rosemond for drug trafficking. Isaac, who is currently serving a life sentence at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, confessed to prosecutors that he was in fact the trigger man during the 1994 Tupac Shakur shooting. Isaac informed investigators that he and an accomplice perpetuated the robbery and the shooting of Shakur at the behest of Rosemond for $2,500 cash payment and ordered the jury on the rapper. According to Isaac, Rosemond wanted to present one of Shakur's diamond rings to his lifelong friend, Cynthia Reed. A belt in a new sentence. It's worth noting that by the time Isaac came forward, the statute of limitations for the crime had expired. In May of 2012, Rosemond was put on trial for operating a multi-million-dollar bi-coastal drug trafficking network following a lengthy investigation by federal and state agencies. Rosemond was represented in court by an attorney, George Shargle, who also represented Mafia Don boss John Gotti Jr. During the trial, prosecutors asserted that Rosemond generated in excess of $11 million each year since 2007 in drug proceeds. Prosecutors alleged that Rosemond's organization routinely shipped narcotics concealed in packages covered in mustard to throw off the drug-sniffing dogs in music equipment cases from Los Angeles to New York, and in turn shipped the cash proceeds from cocaine sales back to California. On June 5, 2012, Rosemond was found guilty on all 13 charges brought by prosecutors in his federal trial for drug trafficking. He was convicted of cocaine distribution, conspiracy, money laundering, witness tampering, and criminal possession of a firearm. On June 22nd, Rosemond was formally charged with the murder of Lowell Lodi Mack Fletcher. On Friday, October 25th, 2013, Rosemond was sentenced to life in the Brooklyn Federal Court. He was also ordered to forfeit cash and assets totaling $14 million. In November 2013, it was revealed that the federal informant listed as CW-3 on federal documents to protect the witness' identity confessed to being the trigger man behind the 2005 shooting of music mogul Suge Knight. The informant told investigators that he shot Suge Knight, head of Death Row Records music label, on orders from Rosemond for $10,000 payment. The informant stated that Rosemond personally supplied him with the gun and used in the shooting, that the two of them fled the scene together immediately after the assault. At 12:42 a.m., August 28, 2005, Knight was shot once in the leg while seated at the table in the Red Room VIP section of the Shores Club in Miami Beach, Florida. Knight was in attendance as a guest at a party being hosted by rapper Kanye West in celebration of the 2005 MTV Music Video Awards held the following night. Witnesses at the party who did not identify the shooter stated at least 6 shots were fired. Roseman's federal trial for the shooting death of Lodi Mack began February 10, 2004 and concluded March 4, 2014, resulting in a hung jury. Roseman's retrial began December 2, 2014, at which United States Attorney Preet Bharara presented 35 prosecution witnesses, including former Rosemond associate Khalil Abdullah Muhammad, Tef Stewart, and Brian Slim McLeod to testify against him. On December 11, 2014, he and the co-defendant Rodney Johnson were convicted on conspiracy to commit homicide and a murder for hire. Rosemond was sentenced to life plus 20 years on March 23, 2015. On November 1, 2016, the U.S. Court of Appeals Second Circuit vacated Rosemond's 2015 conviction for murder for hire. The court cited the District Court, United States District Court for the Southern District of New York, incorrectly applied a waiver provision in the defendant's proffer agreement in error, precluding defense counsel from making certain arrangements at trial. On the evening of November 28, about 8 p.m., Rosemond was convicted on 4 counts of murder for hire. During the 2-week trial, prosecution witness Brian Slim McLeod testified that he participated in luring Fletcher to the Bronx to be murdered. Rosemond's attorney, David Toger, failed to convince the federal jury that his client had merely intended for his trigger man to shoot at Fletcher as opposed to killing him.